whereas last week was like one of my least favorite episodes, this week is one of my most favorite episodes of the entire season.
Yes.
But it also felt really short. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Like,
yes,
I
we
know
were watching it last night, and then it was over, and I was like, well, it's true. I mean, when you enjoy something,
yeah.
you're so absorbed in it.
Yeah. I feel like, well, I mean, I know every episode has been short, but I'm like wondering, was it like 45 minutes? Like it really felt like it went by really quickly. And we paused it a few times so I could take notes.
Yeah.
And it was still, you were
and then
all up on my.
And then when she takes notes, it's like, hurry.
Well, I type 106 words a minute ish.
Bragger.
This is episode 5. I almost said episode 6. I am not looking forward to episode 6. I would like permission to put that off as long as possible. And you know what's funny is I was just thinking about this earlier today. I was like, I feel like episode 6 is one of those ones that is like episode 2 in the sense that I probably know it by heart, even though I don't want to.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking forward to it because it's just so... I don't want to deal with it. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into it. This is probably going to be a short one, I got to be honest, because I mean, this is a short episode, so it's not going to have as many notes. And this is the, I think, only second official episode of the season that is not a mini-sode.
Yes.
Which is
so
maybe why it's so short?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It makes it flow better.
Flow blutter?
Flow blutter. Flow better.
Hello, sinners, and hail Sappho. It's your hostess with the mostest, Narcissa DeVille. And if you're new to this channel, hi, hello, how are you? We've been expecting you. I make weekly Good Omens content. Actually, me and Mom just started watching the show called The Traitors.
The Traitor.
Which is with Alan Cumming. It's so good.
I was thinking last night we should maybe
talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm so obsessed. I thought I would be, because when I first saw the ad for it, I was like, okay, this is really interesting. Yeah. It's almost like Clue. It's like a murder mystery.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun. Alan Cumming is always super fun. God. And so his outfits are iconic. I love, it's Scotland. It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
And I gotta be honest, I'm Team Phaedra. I don't care what anyone says.
Totally Team Phaedra.
I'm obsessed with her. I want her to win. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I really cared for her that much on The Real Housewives.
When she started in the beginning of Real House from Atlanta, I'm a huge fan of all the Housewives
franchises.
Yeah. Thank you.
Kingdoms. Like they're warring factions. I mean, that's how it feels sometimes.
I was first introduced to her when I was watching Housewives in Atlanta.
Yes.
And you kind of have to work your way in and get somewhere. And some of her shenanigans I wasn't too into.
I will say, I do think kind of like with Drag Race, it's like the character that is presented on the show isn't always necessarily the full depth and breadth of that character.
But I do think that after they're on so many years, they get into their style.
Yeah.
They get into the
way out.
And the way they want to carry themselves.
I think there's some people that you love and some people you love to hate.
And then since she's years had passed, I would say a good 5 years since she's been on Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, could be longer. And now she's on Married with Medicine. Married with Medicine. I love her on Married to Medicine.
Mm-hmm.
She's great and she's a good time. And then when we saw her coming on to Traitors, I'm like,
yeah.
Yes.
Her and Peppermint were my two that I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. I love it. I think Peppermint was on there way too short. Yeah. I did not care for that. But I will say, I thought it was very, very interesting. Like, I loved getting to see her there. And now, that she's gone, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just Team Phaedra all the way. So we're just obsessed with that. I mean, we started on season 2, which again, that's how you did Good Omens. That's how we've done a lot of things, I feel like.
I don't even think I heard a word on season 1.
Yeah, no, I don't remember hearing about season 1, but I do remember hearing about season 2. I don't even remember how I saw an ad for it because I don't have ads on most things.
Well, I watch Peacock all the time.
You do, but what I'm saying is I don't.
You might have caught it coming down the stairs while she doesn't like to watch.
I must have been. I feel like I saw it on like YouTube or something.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, regardless, the point is, I was obsessed with the idea when I saw it and heard about it. So We highly recommend it. I think it's so much fun.
Yes. I like because it's out of what I would consider my normal box.
Yeah.
I've never watched a Bachelor. I've never watched a Survivor.
No.
None of that is my gig. This is different. And their characters were former survivors.
Yeah.
Are they the ones that they call the gamers?
Yeah. The people who were in
I thought
Survivor,
a gamer was
the challenge. Well,
because they play games. I'm thinking gamers are also people that play video games.
Yeah, which is also true. They're just the people who play like the games.
And then there's someone from Love Island USA.
No, UK.
No, there's one of the guys is from It says Love Island USA. Oh. That's why they did it, because one is from UK and one is from USA.
Well, she's already gone.
Oh, was that?
Ekin-Su. Yeah. So yeah, this is episode 5, and we start off back in hell with Shax. She's on a mission. Again,
she walks with such ferocity.
Yeah. I love how, again, she's got the good fashions this season.
Yes.
And she's going in to see Fur, who of course is now in requisitions after all of the drama from 1941. And she kind of storms into his office and is demanding 10,000 demons, which of course hell doesn't have. What I think is kind of funny about this whole thing, and we talked about this in season 1, how at the end of season 1, they were talking about getting 10 million demons to put down their, war footing. Yeah. And now all of a sudden they don't have 10,000. I'm like, what the fuck happened to I don't know, 9 million demons? But then I also think about the fact that I don't know why. The more she tells people what she's doing, that she's going to storm a bookshop, the more ridiculous it sounds. And I feel like even she's starting to realize it, because every time she says it, she almost seems like she's a little bit embarrassed. Yeah, when she's in hell, she almost seems a little bit embarrassed. I need 10,000 demons to storm a bookshop. And people are looking at her like, bitch, what? What the fuck? What do you mean storm a bookshop? What kind of waste of power and energy is that? And it does kind of, with how ridiculous it sounds, it does kind of prove where Beelzebub's headspace is at, that they would even approve that.
True. And then the funny thing is that she's down in that warehouse and she doesn't like the guy Eric asking all the questions, but he's asking accurate questions.
He's asking fair questions.
You don't we're not pointing out that you're stupid.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
That's a little later in the game. But yes, no, here's my thing. Just on that point, since you brought it up, I do love Eric, the disposable demon. I think he's so funny. I loved seeing him in season 1. So I was so glad he made a comeback. Horn. And I love how he always just comes back. He's got multiple versions of himself. I think that's really clever.
He's called Eric the Comeback?
Disposable demon. Comeback. Yeah. Because there's multiples of him all the time. He can't really die. But then we go to Aziraphale, who is going around to the shop owners and kind of, trying to get them to go along with his little scheme. I love that, of course, Crowley has to come by. And he's like, you're really going to do this? And Aziraphale's like, yeah. And he's like, can I watch? I think it's so cute. I love the way Crowley is trailing him around. It's very domestic husband coded. It's so cute.
Yes.
But I also love, one of my favorite things about this whole beginning scene is where Aziraphale is basically tempting all these people. He's using all the tricks he's learned from years of doing temptations for Crowley to get what he wants. With the Arnold's guy, the music guy, he tempts him with the whole Doctor Who thing, which is so funny that Doctor Who exists in this universe. And then with the magic shop guy, he tempts him with a book on gambling. Everything he's doing, he's trying to really tempt people to come along. I do love, though, that when he tells Nina, he's like, just an ordinary meeting, no hidden agenda whatsoever. I'm like,
I know.
That is the least subtle thing you can say, girl. What is wrong with you?
And she's like, okay.
Yeah, she's not even remotely phased because she's in her own little world.
I just want to talk about the Christmas lights.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is so...
Sure.
Yeah. Well, it kind of begs the question. I'm like, what season are we in? What time of year is it that we're already talking about? You're either just talking about Christmas lights.
Is it once a year or once a month?
I think they said annual meeting.
Okay, annual.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yearly.
Yeah.
So
I know what annual means. You're such a shady bitch.
It implies
annual
yearly.
Yearly. Oh my God. Thank you, dictionary.com.
I had some coffee
So she's on a roll.
I'm on a roll.
Anyway, I think that's funny. I also love that when he goes to Justine, who's like this cafe shop owner, he's like trying so hard to speak in French, but he's so bad at it. He's struggling so hard. And I think it's so funny because Crowley's just sitting in the background, like watching him like, what the fuck? And again, it's very like dutiful husband, just trailing him around, but he's so unimpressed. And then when it's over, he's like, you speak literally every language in the world. In fact, we just witnessed you speak perfect Mandarin Chinese.
Yes.
But you struggle with French. And I love that Aziraphale's like, I learned that the hard way. I took night classes in 17 whatever. And the teacher that he mentions is apparently a French name that means Mr. Nightingale, which I was like, y'all are really doing too much with this. I cannot. Neil is like trying to kill us. I swear to God.
And you know what's funny too is she kept saying, I speak fluent English.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh,
yeah. He's still going to keep going in French. And you're like, girl. And that's why I love that Crowley's in the background, like, okay, sure. Keep going, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And then I have to talk about this because no one will appreciate my obsession the way I do. So, but I'm still going to bring it up anyway. The sentence that Aziraphale says about the pen of his aunt, and I love that Crowley's like, you don't have an aunt, she doesn't have a gardener, and he doesn't have a pen. Part of that sentence is also a line from The Exorcist, which I'm obsessed with. And really? I love that, like, very subtle reference. Yes, I only know it because I've watched that movie a million times.
Mind you, how many people do you know that consider The Exorcist a comedy?
Me and Beetlejuice. I mean, that's what it is. You know, it was my happy movie until Alien came along.
Ridiculous movie is what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's camp now.
I mean, I did not watch it until I was a grown adult. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's kind of like when we watched for the first time, Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, but then you truly have to go to during that time.
Yeah.
In the 50s, 60s, whenever it came out. That was considered a scary movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they talked about the devil.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all very high camp now, and we enjoy it for that fact.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like,
yeah,
it's going to get scary.
In between all of the scenes where Aziraphale's going around to all the shops, we do go back to hell. And that is where we see Shax talking to Eric. And he's kind of pointing out all the flaws and everything she's saying. Because she's like, oh, we've got a legion. He's like, counting everyone, he's like,
she's expecting
we have like 175th of.
I think he said you could have
170. No, he said you could have 70. It was originally 100, and then he's because like, it just went down to 70.
70, yeah, because she pissed him off.
Yeah,
and then she has the big speaker.
Yeah,
she's putting it on, and you literally see maybe 5 people.
Yeah, it's very tech out of the 1920s. You know what makes me wonder though? Was this the first scene that was filmed? Because all of this scene, it feels very like everyone's still following which they should. Everyone's still following all the COVID stuff because you've got everyone spaced out really super far.
Yes.
And then you've got some of the demons wearing masks when they go up to Earth.
And they told her, she did say.
Yeah, she said, for those of you who can't blend in, which I think is a clever workaround.
Yes.
For that, to be like, okay, you don't want to startle people, so you're going to wear masks.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so I'm like, was this like the first scene that was filmed? Because I feel like no other scenes do we see this except for this one. Mm-hmm. So it's a really interesting, and there's lots of people crowding around each other. So I don't know. That was just the first thing that I thought about because it, you don't see that anywhere else. Now we got to talk about my all-time favorite scene. I think I can comfortably say it's my second favorite scene, second only to the original 1941 scene in season 3. Or no, season 1, episode 3. See, that's where I fucked up. I fucked that up before too.
Yeah.
The scene where Crowley and Aziraphale are like arguing about the whole French thing, and they're standing in front of Nina's shop, and she walks out and she's like, bravo, she's so impressed with them because she sees them as like this old gay married couple, which, let's face it, that's what they are. And I love when Aziraphale walks off, she's like, he's never wanted to hold this meeting. What changed? And Crowley's like, I don't know. He discovered his civic obligation. And then she lets loose probably the greatest like mini monologue of all time.
Yes.
Because she's like, have you been together long? And he's like, who? I love that. I'm like, who the fuck do you think, girl? Like, don't give me that who. And she's like, you and your partner. And he looks over at Aziraphale. So he knows exactly who she's talking about. And she's not the first person to point this out.
Yeah.
But something about the way she phrases it and says it is just like, it's so perfect to me. And I love that he's like, no, it's not like that. And she's like, it certainly looks like that from over here.
Yeah.
Like the way they interact, the way they just are with each other. And again, all of heaven and hell have thought this for close to a century now.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's not like they've ever been subtle, but it's even less so now. And I love that she goes, you got a boyfriend or a husband? Is the bookseller you've been on the side? I love that at
He's not a bit of the side.
Yeah. I love that at no point does she ever entertain the idea that he could be even remotely straight. She took one look at him and said, there is no heterosexual explanation for that. And I love that. I'm obsessed with that.
But I love how
what queen.
Crowley is just like, he's too good to be a bit on
exactly.
the side.
I love that.
How dare you insult
exactly.
him and call him a bit on the side?
Exactly.
It's like,
I love that. He's far too pure of heart to be anyone's bit on the side.
Pure of heart to be so.
He's just an angel. I know. And the way he says that is just so funny. And then she's like, you know, whatever. Other people's love lives just seem so simple from the outside.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, that particular phrasing is what gives him pause. And I think what's interesting is most people would argue they have both very clearly had some kind of feelings for each other for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And people have seen that, but I don't know, maybe it's because it's like not in a mocking way that she's saying it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like when Uriel called Crowley Aziraphale's boyfriend in the dark sunglasses, I feel like that was in a mocking way. I feel like when other people have said things like that, it's been in a very mocking way, but Nina says it in a very earnest way.
Yes.
I cannot imagine she is the first human to ever point it out.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like anyone who has ever seen them interact would be like, yeah, they're a couple, clearly. Like, they're married. Like, okay. Mm-hmm. But something about the way she says it just clearly clicks something. And he's like, okay. And so he like looks after Aziraphale for a second. And then he's like, you know what? No. Turns around, goes back to the cafe, and you know, drinks his weight in wine. And I love that when we do see Aziraphale again, Crowley just whistles him over. Mm-hmm. And I love that Aziraphale knows that it's for him.
He doesn't rush right over.
No. But he goes over and Crowley's like, you want a drink? And Aziraphale's like, I'm working. I just think it's so funny.
Why are you drinking outside?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Drink inside.
You love to be inside.
Just talking. Yeah, you love to be inside.
Yeah.
Just talking like, again, as we say, an old married couple.
Yeah. I will say, I do feel like people have pointed this out, and I do feel like it's very, very true. I feel like Crowley and Aziraphale are in two very different shows this season. I feel like Aziraphale is like in a romantic comedy.
Yes.
And, you know, Pride and Prejudice style. And fucking Crowley is in, like, a murder mystery. He is in, like, actual hell because, you know, he's drinking. He's like, I'm not going in that fucking bookshop. You've got an archangel who doesn't know who the fuck he is. He could be faking it. Yeah. And what if he smites me?
Yeah.
And then I love that he's like, smited? Smote? And Aziraphale says, smitten. And
I know.
And then he's like, you're being silly. Face. Yeah.
You're being
But it kind of does prove the point because people have said, you know, it seems kind of weird that Aziraphale isn't taking his concerns seriously.
Yeah.
And like, I can appreciate that. But again, like I said, it seems like they are very much living in two separate shows. Yeah. Aziraphale's just having a gay old time, literally. And Crowley's having a very bad, rotten, no good day. Like, he's been living out of his car.
Yeah.
He's got Beelzebub pulling him down to hell. He's got shacks all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, he's really going through it. He's having a rough time. He needs a hug. I don't know. So I do kind of love that. And then Aziraphale goes, well, why don't you go, you know, ask him, talk to him? And he's like, you know what? I'm going to do that. And so he grabs his bottle, walks across the street to the bookshop. And I love that between the 20 feet from the cafe to the bookshop, he manages to down the entire bottle of wine.
He's pouring the last part of it.
Pouring the last part of it as he goes to see Gabriel.
To Gabriel, yeah.
I do love this scene. I love that he's so very protective of Aziraphale.
Mhm.
And he's like, he's pissed. And he's like, you know what? I need to hash this out with you because you nearly caused this person that I care very much about, but still can't fully put the words to it. You nearly caused him to die. And yet he's being so kind to you and caring so much about you. And I don't think you fucking deserve it. I mean, basically, is how I think
How he put it, yeah.
How it comes across.
I mean, the intensity in his voice and his wording when he's like, and he doesn't even know what you said.
Yeah, exactly. Because he wasn't there.
He wasn't there because they had switched at that point.
Yeah.
And you told the only person,
my only friend, to shut his stupid mouth and die. Yeah. It's very
put a dagger in my heart.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
So beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that he's like, you know, I hope I'm not causing Aziraphale too much trouble. And he's like, more bad news for you, Jimmy boy. It's so fucking funny.
I love when he's a little bit drunk.
Yeah, it's so fucking funny. And he's like, he's risking everything for you. Like, you have to understand that.
And then he goes, is there anything I can do? And you're like,
yeah, jump out that window.
Jump out that window.
And I think the reason he stops him is because he realizes that Gabriel would never do that. And so he's like, okay, you're not who I thought you were.
Yeah.
I still don't know if I can forgive who you look like. Yeah. But you are not that person. So I can't hold this against you. Correct. And plus Aziraphale would be pissed at him. So he's like, all right.
A mess to clean up.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Humpty Dumpty. Anyway, so he's like, all right, just come on. You know, I'll make you a hot chocolate. And I think that's really cute.
Well, it's funny because he's like, do you want?
Yeah, a hot chocolate. A hot chocolate. And I love it. And then Jim is like, you're really nice. And Crowley's like, I'm not, you know what? No one would believe you anyway. I'm like, yes, they would. I'm like, yes, they would believe you. I love that when we actually get to the ball, my favorite thing about this scene is like everyone's coming in, you know, you see their clothes change. I think everyone except for Crowley's clothes change. I don't know if Mr. Brown's clothes changed, but nobody. But we didn't see what he looked like before.
Yeah, he did. He had that. I watched him come in, didn't I?
I don't know. I thought he was already in the door. When we see him, he was already in the door. We hadn't seen him outside.
But I thought it was the same outfit he wore in the shop, where he wears that kind of. Or maybe it just fit him so much it didn't seem anything different. Yeah,
exactly.
But I'll tell you what, the first time I watched it, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until you pointed it out, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because some of them are more subtle than others.
Correct.
I feel like with Nina, her outfit change is kind of more subtle. Maggie's is more dramatic. Well, Mrs. Sandwich is the first one we see. And hers is like really dramatic because she's in like a tracksuit and then she's like in this sparkly kind of tracksuit. It's really cute.
It's really cute.
She is by far, I would argue, one of my favorite characters. Cute. She's so much fun. I love that Aziraphale is like, what is it exactly you do? And you know, she still keeps very like coy about it.
Yeah.
But I love it. I think it's so funny. But he knows enough because when he's making everyone speak in the like Edwardian Victorian era language. And from what I understand, the reason she can't say what she does and she says she's a seamstress is because that was actually Victorian slang for like a sex worker, is that they were a seamstress. Clearly. So that's why she does that whole thing.
That whole bit with that lady is so hilarious.
Mrs. Sandwich and
she's
Mrs.
laughing.
Chen. Yeah.
And she's like, why do I keep saying that?
Yeah. Why can't I say seamstress? And I love that she's like, Mrs. Chen's like, well, why don't you explain what you do? And then she does it in the most, I don't know where my fans are. And then she does it in the most like sexual way, but still talking like seamstress terms. And then you see Mrs. Chen next to her stroking her fan. I'm like, oh my God, girl, I cannot. It's such a fucking hilarious
scene. Flips it open, thwarps it.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh,
fanning herself. Yeah, exactly. Oh, a seamstress. Okay. I love it. I love that scene. I love everything about it. And then I love that, you know, at first Nina's like, no, I'm not going to this. I just got broken up with. I just want to go home, go to bed and cry. And Crowley's like, yeah, no, something's not right here. And you can kind of see as everyone's coming in, there's like a fog slowly rolling in.
Yeah.
And I love that they're having this conversation and she's like, what? Like, what do you mean you'll be safer in the bookshop? And I love that Crowley's like, for once in your life, just trust something. She's like, you're weird. And he's like, just do it. It's so fucking
And then
funny.
she starts running.
Yeah, because she's like, oh shit. So she starts running. She goes into the bookshop, and then, her clothes change slightly, and she's like, I'm going mad. And then, everyone's talking in the full, Victorian Pride and Prejudice kind of way.
Indicates.
And she's like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not really questioning it, but she clearly is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting that throughout this episode, we kind of see that it seems like there are some limitations to Aziraphale's powers.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I know I'm upset. I don't feel upset. What is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she's kind of like on the fence.
Yeah.
Which I find very interesting. And then I love...
Does it take notice that it's like part of that free will type of thing?
I think to a point, yes. Yeah. But I also think, I mean, there's obviously something, we see later when he tries to, miracle them to kind of forget everything, and they don't. And they're like, what are you trying to do here? And
you're trying to hypnotize us.
Yeah, exactly. When the demons attack, and Neil has explained it that obviously Aziraphale was not kind of really trying all that hard. He wasn't fully paying attention. He was kind of got a lot on his mind. Yeah. But I do think it's interesting. But, you do make up a good point of like free will has to play some part in that. And
because the ones that are letting it just happen are just
going with the flow.
Themselves.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
Going with the flow.
Yeah. And I love this whole scene with the ball. I think it's very, very cute. I love fucking Jim's, you can only describe it as a Liberace outfit.
That's
He's
what
got
I
like
called
this
it.
Sparkling blue, powder blue suit or tux maybe. It's very, very Liberace inspired. I think that's so funny. I love how Mrs. Sandwich and Mutt's spouse are like flirting with him a little bit, but in a very Victorian way. And that whole scene with him is so
with the face.
Funny and odd and weird. I don't know how to feel about it, but in general, like I do love the scene, and I love that when Crowley's like, we've got a problem, because he can, he knows the demons are here at this point, because after he gets Maggie in, he does call them out. He's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, what is going on?
You're not allowed here.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, we want the angel. And he's like, oh shit. So he runs inside and he sees everything and he's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
He's like, oh God.
He takes the tray. What does he do? Just like when he has the stack of books.
Yeah, he just throws it.
He just throws them.
Yeah, but I love first when Aziraphale is talking to him, he's like, he's like, we're having a bull. And then Crowley's like, we have a problem. And he's like, I'm in a business meeting. I'm like, girl, which is it? Like, what are you talking about, business meeting? It's so
We're having
funny.
Our monthly meeting. Yeah.
But again,
he says monthly meeting or annual meeting.
Yeah. But again, it kind of proves my point, though, that it's very much, they're in two different things. He's living his Pride and Prejudice fantasy, and Crowley is like dealing with all the demons. He's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
So it's so much. I love it. And then, we have all the demons coming up. They're approaching the place. Crowley is freaking out. And I love that when he, when everyone starts dancing, I love that Aziraphale is watching Nina and Maggie, and he's got this look on his face that's just so like, he's so happy for them. He really wants them to get together. And it does kind of feel like, I'm like, you're projecting a bit there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but it's so cute because when Crowley's trying to tell him, hey, stuff's going on, he's like, we're going to dance.
Yeah. Well, before that, though, I love that when Nina and Maggie are dancing, I love that Nina's like, they're doing this. Like, I don't know how, but they're the reason this is happening.
Yep.
And it's interesting that she's able to clock that so quickly. Like, she just knows. She's like, they're doing something. Yeah.
And
we've talked about that.
We've talked about how we think that Nina and Maggie, have more powers or more insight on things.
Well, maybe one of them is a witch. I think that could be fun. I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily that they have some kind of power or insight. I just think that they're clever and not easily swayed by everything that's going on, especially Nina. She's like, I just got broken up with. I know I don't feel right. Something's weird that's going on, and everything that's weird that's happened in my life has happened
because of these two.
Yeah. And she's already witnessed Crowley's power because he got struck by lightning, or so it looked.
Yeah. I think
that locked them in.
I think the saddest thing that Nina said was,
I don't think Lindsay liked me very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really sad. Yeah.
You have a partner that you've been with for a long time. And
well, we don't know how long they've been together.
Even if you're at a point where you're living together.
Yeah.
And you say, I don't even think she even liked me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
that is really sad.
That's devastating.
And it does beg the question. I kind of wish we got to see more of that explored.
Yeah.
There's so many questions that are left unanswered, which is, I get it. There's only so much time that you can dedicate to this. There's only so much you can, do with it. Fine. I will say, like you were saying before, though, I love that, Curly's like, we've got a problem. And his ear feels like, why don't you tell me about it while we dance? And Curly's just like, you don't dance. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I guess you were asleep when this was going on, but he very much does dance. Mostly the gavotte, but he does do other dances too, clearly. That's a whole other thing. That's the can.
Oh.
But I do love that. I love seeing them dance. I think it's so cute because Aziraphale's face when he asks him to dance, he is so excited. It's such a cute moment. But it's also funny. I wish it, I want to see them like get to dance more. I hate that it was interrupted.
Yeah.
I'm hoping in season 3
something
we will
being
get
thrown through the window.
Yeah. Like a brick. Or
Well,
not even,
like
it was
a
bigger
sign.
than a brick. No, it was like a piece of fucking sidewalk
Oh,
that they pulled up and it said surrender the angel. I do love that feels like a little bit
twisted.
of a angle. I love that it's a little bit of a reference to
Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Surrender Dorothy.
Surrender Dorothy.
I love the
That's
little.
so funny.
Yeah, I love that it felt like a little bit of a Wizard of Oz reference there. I don't know.
Surrender
Maybe
the angle.
Yeah, I think that's so funny.
And someone's reading, they're like, surrender the angle.
And Curly just goes, spelling's not their strong suit. And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? But it is cute to watch them dance. And, again, it's another moment where Crowley is very nervous and his ear feels like, it's fine, whatever. And maybe for him, he's like, we already survived the end of the world. So, like, I ain't scared of this. Like,
well, and then he also said that the inside of the shop is still a
independent outpost of heaven. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an embassy.
Which,
like, is fair, but also, like...
So he felt that they were secure.
Safe. Yeah.
A lot more than it turned out to.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's like, how much trouble could we really be in? And then, you see the piece of cement come through and his ear feels like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, there goes my fun time.
Damn it, I was dancing.
It's like the only moment where it really feels like it hits him like, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore. We're fucked. I do love that, according to Neil, and this kind of pertains a little bit more to episode 6, but we're kind of talking about both. But according to Neil, because it all happens in one night, right? Mm-hmm. That whole scene was meant to be like, Neil had said that the conversation that happens in episode 6 that next day or whatever, they were both planning to tell the other how they felt, I guess.
Oh.
But of course, everything just went to hell in a handbasket, literally.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So you can kind of see it in that moment where they're dancing. Maybe had the demons not broken in, things could have been different, but we'll never know. So, the demons come in. Shax is like, give us Gabriel, or we're going to start killing people. And I love that Crowley is like, no, you can't do this. Here's this made up rule that I made up about it. And you guys aren't going to fact check me, which they don't. So we're going to get away with this. And so they're like, okay, fine. You can take the humans out. And of course, Mr. Brown, being the Karen that he is like, I'm going to handle this. And he goes up to Shax. He's like, I'm calling the police. And I love that Shax is like, what's the boundary line of this place? And Crowley's like, the door frame. And you just see a demon just go, all right, boom, pulls Mr. Brown through. And who knows what'll happen to him?
Well, we have to step back for a second.
Okay.
Because remember, our powder blue friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, has that happened? Yeah. Oh, I guess it has. Yeah. Because
he comes out first.
Right. Because they say surrender the angel. And Jim is like, this is about me, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, kind of. And Azir feels like, well, I said I'd protect you. So I'm gonna. And he's like, you don't have to. I'll go out there. And so, of course, he goes out there and inexplicably opening the door, he's now wearing this feather jacket, feather coat basically.
Goes with the whole ensemble.
Yeah, it's so Liberace. It's not even funny.
And the white light around him.
Yeah, he's very angelic. Looks very angelic. Yeah, I was going to say
and
he's
you're
glowing.
Like,
it's so fucking funny.
It's Liberace.
Yeah, it's so
That's
fucking
where
funny.
I came up to.
And then I
should have gave him the candelabra.
Yeah, right.
I wish my brother George was here.
And then I love that he goes out and he's like, "Hi, it's me. I'm the one you're looking for." And Shax is like, "Get the fuck out of here. You
Yeah.
are not Gabriel. Give us the angel." And it's just kind of funny because he's like, it's I'm right here." And she's like, "No." Of course, they're not buying it. They
You have
still don't
60
see him.
seconds.
Yeah. I love that she's like, if you tell that ass Aziraphale
Arse.
and that ass Crowley, if they don't bring the angel out here this minute, they're gonna be toast. TOSTE. Toast. It's so funny. And even Gabriel's like, "I don't think that's right." Like the look on his face is like, "I don't think that's right." And she's like, "Get out." And so he goes back inside and they're like, "What happened?" And they're like, "They want the angel." And Crowley's like, "Oh, for God's sakes, we do a miracle together and it's too good. Good going, us."
Us, yeah.
And so, then, we get to the part where they take everyone out. I love that Crowley is just like, "Okay, if you do exactly as I say, I'm going to get everyone out of here." And then he turns to Aziraphale and is like, "I'm not going to leave you here alone. I've got this." And, again, it's kind of a moment where they should be communicating and they're not, because Aziraphale's like, "I have an idea." And Crowley's like, "I got it. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, but you got to work together, guys. Come on now. But of course,
they just won't stop and listen to it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the biggest problem. And I'm, hopefully in season 3, he gets everyone out. Of course, Maggie and Nina decide to stay behind. As we were talking about before, Aziraphale kind of tries to miracle them to forget everything. They don't, because he, clearly isn't really all together with it. So he's not really performing to his best standard.
Yes.
So they know that something's going on and they want to protect him, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I like that. I like seeing that they care about him.
Cute that Nina's trying to get Maggie to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, "No." Did she say, "I'm staying" or "We're staying"?
Yeah, I think she said "We're staying" to Crowley. And I love that he's like, "Gonna stay behind to die."
And Nina's like, "Okay,
that's nice.
We're
That's
staying."
Brave of you. It's so funny, that whole line. And so, they exit, and it's interesting the way, because this is kind of the final scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting the way they do it. Obviously, we've got Aziraphale in the bookshop. He pulls aside the carpet to reveal the little symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that he uses fake candles now after the bookshop burned. So he's like, "I'm not doing real candles anymore. We're doing fake candles here."
Right.
I think that's very clever. I also love that, they ask him what his plan is. And he's like, "Well, Crowley will be back soon. He'll know what to do." And Nina's like, "Why don't you stand up for yourself?" And he's like, "Oh, I do. But Crowley it makes him so happy to protect me or save me or whatever."
Yeah.
And I do think that's very cute, because, it does seem like that just is their thing. It's their dynamic. Crowley's always rescuing him from something.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting, though, because Crowley's answer is he sees Muriel and he's like, "Okay, I'm going to go to heaven. And that's how I'm going to arrest me so I can go to heaven." I think that's a very weird choice. I mean, I get why it had to happen, because that's how we get the whole backstory with Gabriel. But I don't know. It feels like a very weird choice there. I don't know if that was like a last minute thing for him or like what.
Well, I mean, you could tell he was surprised to see Muriel.
Yeah.
So he has to quickly think on his feet.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Aziraphale is not thinking straight. I gotta come up with something."
Yeah. Yeah.
And remember, he was in heaven before. So
True. But I just thought the whole thing was, I don't know, it was very interesting.
I think it was
that
romantic
decision. I guess. Well, he had said, "I'm not going to leave you here," and he kind of does. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do love, they go into the elevator, they go to heaven. Obviously, we don't see that, but I love that Shax kind of watches them go up to heaven.
Yeah.
I don't know if she knows who it is. It's kind of left unclear.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really the end of the episode. Mm-hmm. Like, everything's kind of gearing up for this battle, but nothing really happens all that much in this episode.
No.
And again, it's super, super short. I feel like we got through this really fast. I barely had to look at my notes.
Really good.
Yes.
And,
this is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
As I've said.
All of the elements that are gearing up to next week's episode and made it exciting. And like you said, maybe it was quicker because there was no mini-sode involved.
Yeah. But there was also more that I think had to happen in the last episode, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, the only thing that makes me sad is, like I said, I do wish they had gotten to spend a little bit more time together. I wish we got some kind of like calmness a little bit, because I feel like I don't know. I do feel like in a way the whole thing with Hell coming up and storming the bookshop and all of that really just happened quickly. I wish we kind
Yeah.
of got to stretch that a little bit, but
Yeah.
again, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
There is only so much time in the episodes,
Mm-hmm.
so it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the episode?
It is, like you, one of my favorite episodes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say it's probably top 3 for me. Obviously, after we do the official review of episode 6, we're going to do our ranking of the seasons
Okay.
and the episodes.
Okay.
But I can confidently say this is like top 3 for me,
Nice.
not to spoil anything. And yeah, I mean, that's the episode. This went by really fast. The episode went by really fast as well. So I guess it's kind of fitting that this would go by quickly too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you have anything else or any thoughts or?
No.
Okay. Oh my
Makes
God,
it
my
exciting
shoulders.
for next week.
Does it though?
I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
looking
the
forward to
end,
next week.
but
Yeah, I'm
it's the
excited because we're
exciting
going to be
build-up
caught up,
for
and it went by really
season
quickly.
3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that is the video. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like this video, comment down below. Tell me what is your favorite part about this whole episode. Subscribe to this channel. You can also become a member of this channel. We have 2 tiers, the R side tier and the ineffable tier. One of the tiers is the higher tier, and you get early access. You get behind the scenes. I think it's the R side tier, which is the higher tier.
Okay.
You get early access, you get behind the scenes, all kinds of fun goodies. I'm really trying to make it more. I would love to do like live videos for my members and stuff like that. I think that'd be fun. I miss doing live videos.
Nice.
I gotta be honest. You can also become a member of my Patreon, patreon.com/narcissistville. That also has behind the scenes, members only content. I can't wait to do more of those. And until next time, stay devilish and see you next Tuesday.